It's Monday morning on Legal AF, so it must be Trumpenomics. I'm Michael Popok. 3 data points to prove my working theory for this hot take. Republicans cannot be trusted to be the stewards of our economy. Republicans cannot be trusted to be the stewards of our economy. And I'm not just talking about Donald Trump and his failures of Trumpenomics, from the tariffs to consumer prices to wholesale prices to job loss and the rest. I'm going to give you 3 data points. One of them is the new reporting coming out of the New York Times that Elon Musk and his SpaceX company, that it's made billions and billions of dollars over the last several years, is probably never going to pay federal income tax. Did you hear what I just said? They're worth $350 billion enterprise value. They've paid billions and billions of dollars. And Elon Musk company is likely never in our lifetime to pay income tax. That's one. Secondly, we've got a Congressperson, Rob Bresnahan out of Pennsylvania. Get this number. He ran, they run every 2 years. He ran on a platform that people in Congress should not be trading stocks because they have so much inside information and they can manipulate the stock market by way of passing bills, approving bills, knowing that bills are being passed, are in the pipeline, cutting Medicare, cutting Medicaid, cutting or funding hospitals, cutting or funding prisons, cutting or funding schools, private schools. They just control, they actually generate and control the insider information. Rob Bresnahan, the guy that ran on we should not have stock portfolios if we're in Congress. Get this number. He's already made trades, if you can believe it. He's already made trades over 650 times already this year, and including some trades that look very, very suspicious, like selling bonds in hospitals, bonds that support hospital development, knowing that 10 hospitals in his state were about to be closed. How about selling stock in hospital stock, knowing that Medicare and Medicaid was going to be cut by Donald Trump in the big, beautiful bill, and profiting from it. Now, when he was attacked over it by people that are running for office against him and others, he said, what am I supposed to do? Just sit on the portfolio and let it sit in the accounts and lose all of my money? I don't know. Why don't you lock it away in some sort of blind trust and let your broker or trader handle it? At least it'd be blind. At least there'd be a disconnect on ethics. That's data point number 2. Data point number 3, besides the House Ethics Committee working overtime, is that the ombudsperson responsible for ethics about all cabinet members says that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who effectively just fired the head of the IRS put there by Donald Trump. He was only in the job 2 months. Less than a month, they made the decision to fire the guy and kick him upstairs to be the, get this, ambassador to Iceland. But Scott Bessent, he hasn't divested himself of all of his stock portfolio and investments around the country, even though he was obligated to do it to get the Treasury position. I mean, the Commerce Secretary at least sold all his assets to his 2 20-something sons, allegedly. At least he did that. And now you have to trust and believe that he's not running the company, even though he's running around with Donald Trump and his sons are in charge. But in Bessent's standpoint, Bessent, Treasury Secretary, so much runs through the Treasury Department. And this guy's busy firing the head of the Internal Revenue Service, but he won't sell like a dairy farm or hundreds of acres that he has of timberland somewhere. And so the ombudsperson had a report. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has violated the ethics laws. This is an administration that told you on the way in, they'd not only be the most transparent, they'd be the most ethical. They weren't willing to sign any agreements on the way in to establish their being ethical, because how dare you challenge our ethics? We're so ethical, we're going to go above and beyond. We're going to set the standard for ethics. Is that what we're watching with this administration after 7 months? The standard for ethics? Watching the Trump children, and therefore the father, grift their way to billions of dollars? They invest everywhere that Trump makes policy. Trump is the crypto king as president, and the family is heavily invested in crypto. Trump is invested in real estate and he visits countries where there's going to be a real estate development, and suddenly there's a Trump project in that country. He cuts a deal on diplomacy or tariffs, and suddenly the Trump kids are cutting deals in those countries that got a deal on their tariffs. This is a presidency that's for sale. I've been saying that since day one of this administration. So you've got the head of the crime organization, Donald Trump, who's running who's running America the way he ran all of his businesses. Everybody was all excited on the MAGA side. We need a business person. We need to run America like a business, somebody that's going to look at the bottom line. Except people don't, those same people don't understand that there's a reason that a political body is not a business, because a social safety net and entitlements and programs for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, being the steward for $5 trillion worth of internal revenue and spending it in the right places is not a measure of capitalism. We're a body politic. And that's what the leader of the free world is supposed to be concerned with. Our well-being, our national security, our life, health, and safety. That's job number one. So it's not a business, because there's no profit in running the National Weather Service. There's no profit in running FEMA. There's no profit in many of the things that the government does, but we need to do it. I mean, he's already cut the budget on investment in research and development as a nation, which is going to leave us tremendously poorer after he leaves office. And so look at those three data points for this morning hot take. You got Bresnahan, along with a lot of others who are making money hand over fist in this economy as congresspeople based effectively on insider knowledge. Donald Trump, to kind of run interference for that kind of guy and for his own grift, attacks people like Nancy Pelosi. Oh, look, Paul Pelosi's making so much money. He's beating the odds. He's beating the averages. He must be getting insider information from 90-year-old Nancy Pelosi. She's, what was the word he used for her? She's not decrepit. He had another disgusting word for her. She's, it'll come to me. But that was just to run interference against the billions, I mean with a B, billions of dollars that the Trump family has already made and will continue to make before he leaves office. It could be the biggest heist in history before our very eyes. And so when you have Elon Musk, who was in the government, we actually let this guy in the government at the highest levers of power to destroy fundamentally whole agencies and departments, to rummage around our data, leaving us insecure, stealing our money and diverting it in other places, not saving us nearly as much as they said. It wasn't anywhere close to what he said for the amount of damage that they did. And all the while, he didn't pay the entry ticket for the United States. He's not paying federal taxes. I mean, there's an estimate by the New York Times in the new article that's right up there now this week, that in the estimate is this year they're going to pay $6,000 in federal taxes against income of $5 billion in income. They made $5 billion in 2024. They made $2.6 billion in 2023. Sure, they had accumulated losses leading into 2020 and 2021 of $5 billion. And that's the carryover loss under Donald Trump's tax cuts that they're going to be able to apply for the future. That's why they told, according to this reporting, they told their investors, we may never pay taxes. They're paying more. Get this. Elon Musk is paying more in foreign government taxes than he's paying in federal U.S. taxes. If he pays $6,000, that's not a typo, $6,000 this year. He paid $483,000 in federal taxes last year, against $6,000 to the feds. If that, he probably was zero. So you've got that. You've got the Congress people who refuse to give up their portfolios, the Secretary of Treasury who refuses to divest himself, all the while benefiting. And the reason is Donald Trump doesn't force the issue, because he basically promised these oligarchs, these millionaires, these 100 millionaires, these billionaires, when they came into this cabinet, when he came into this government, when they supported him, that he wouldn't make them divest, that they could make money on this presidency. That was the promise. That's why when you see Donald Trump now using our taxpayer dollars to invest in private companies, competing with private capital, crowding out private investment like a Marxist, taking over companies, threatening companies like a shakedown, like the old Soviet Union, like Russia. You know, every major company in Russia is owned by the government and by Putin and people around Putin. That's what Donald Trump's trying to emulate. 15% penalty on NVIDIA. Let's do revenue share with NVIDIA. Let's own a piece of Nippon Steel of Japan that owns U.S. Steel. Let's own 35% of a rare earth mining company. How about we don't do that? Let's own 20% of Intel with our money, with all of these stakes, because he's running it like his businesses. If he's running it like his businesses, we're in big trouble. And this is what we're watching. Remember what happened to all of Donald Trump's businesses. They were basically failures. Trump Steaks, Trump Air, Trump Casinos. I mean, even in his own securities filings, where he had to tell people about the risk of investing with him, he basically told investors, don't invest with me. Don't invest with me. You'll lose. It's almost guaranteed you'll lose your money. And then he had a list, because securities law require it, all of the dozens of failed companies under Donald Trump. I mean, he's the only person in America that found a way to go bankrupt twice running a casino. I mean, it's house money. I mean, literally. I mean, every casino I've ever known, or known people that have been involved with the ownership of it, they're making money hand over fist. Donald Trump found a way to go bankrupt twice. So why did we think he'd be better steward of our economy here in America, running our government? And he's not content with just fiscal policy. He's not content with just, setting his presidential policies about domestic economy and world economy with tariffs, right? He wants to take over the Fed. He wants to take over monetary policy. He wants to goose up the money supply and manipulate the money supply and manipulate the statistics to count and measure his economy. Thank God we're all together here calling it out. I'm glad you're here Monday morning on Legal AF. Continue to follow me, Michael Popok, and all our contributors here. Hit the free subscribe button here on Legal AF. And I got some great news. Legal AF Substack is like firing up. We're now doing a live at least once or twice a day, 8, 10, 12 minutes updates over there, along with written commentary, along with a lot of the filings that we talk about posted there, and people writing on Legal AF Substack. Come over to Legal AF Substack, hit the free subscribe button. If you really want to help us, I think it's like $5-6 a month. Hit the paid membership, because soon we're going to start offering some exclusive content only for our paid members. So paid membership is the way to go there. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.